Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Will, and I'm back with a much promised video. And this is gonna be my entire collection of one of my favorite bands of all time, and of course I'm talking about the Muffs. And I think the whole idea behind this video, or of showing you my entire collection of the Muffs, came up. I think that came up in my last video, or my last new music update video of 2019, where I showed you the newest and final album from the Muffs that is called No Holiday. And it's just a fantastic record, by the way. It made it to my top 10 albums of 2019 video, which is my last video in my channel. I think I also mentioned in that video that the Muffs is actually one of the very few bands where I try to buy everything that they release, and in multiple formats as well, on vinyl and on CD. It's one of the bands that I really try to complete my collection in everything that they release, including their singles, their full-length albums, their compilations, anything that they release. I try to get it if I can, of course. And going through my collection, I realized that they have a lot of releases, so I wanted to make this video just to show you my entire collection of the Muffs. And it's a special video as well because if you know, or if you watch my videos, you know that Kim Shattuck, the lead singer of the Muffs, died last year after complications from ALS. So it's a little bit of a special video just to show you the entire Muffs discography, and especially after the end of the Muffs in 2019. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with, I'm going to go in chronological order, I guess, from their start in 1991 all the way to 2019. And just a disclaimer, this may be a little bit of a long video because they do have a lot of records, and my collection is quite big. So yeah, let's go ahead and check it out. And let's start off with the very first release by the Muffs, by Kim Shattuck and the gang. Back in the day when they got started, they were a little bit different compared to when they were last year. They were of course, with Kim Shattuck, and she got together with Melanie Vammen, who played also in the Pandoras with her. She got together also with Ronnie Barnett and Chris Crass, and they released this their very first single, and this one's called Guilty. And it came out back in 1991 on an Australian record label called Oh Go Go. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. Here's the name of the record label. And yeah, this one's called Guilty. It's their very first 7-inch single. And the B-side is a song called Right in the Eye, which is actually one of my favorites by them as well. Here's the 7-inch on just standard black vinyl and the Oh Go Go labels. So yeah, that was a short clip from the Muffs with Right in the Eye, the B-side from their first single. And as you can hear, their music early on was very influenced in the 80s rock music. Very harsh, very rough sounding punk rock music. Very influenced in bands like the Pandoras, of course, with Melanie and Kim both being in the Pandoras, but also by bands like Red Cross, which is another rock band from the 80s, and also from Los Angeles, which are also is the city where they come from. But yeah, great single by them. This is really the single that got them started and really got them really got other record labels interested in their music. Before they actually got into Warner Brothers and released their first full-length album, they released a couple of other singles on other independent record labels. This is one of them. This is the next one. This one's called New Love, and it came out in 1991 on Sympathy for the Records Industry Records. And you can see there a really cool picture of the band, also with the original lineup, with Kim, Melanie, Chris, and Ronnie. The band was different in lineup and also in a little bit in the style of music back then when they got started, compared to later in their careers. And this is their second single. Here's the record itself. It came out on black vinyl and custom labels. And in the back you actually have the classic Sympathy for the Records Industry labels. And the B-sides are two songs called I Don't Like You and You Lied to Me. And there it is, the Muffs with their second single. And then they also released another single before moving on to Warner Brothers, also on an independent record label. This one is called I Need You, and it came out in 1992 on Sub Pop Records. And the B-side is a song called Beat Your Heart Out. And actually I think I have 2 copies of this single. And yeah, here you go. There's 2 copies for because one of them is on pink vinyl with the Sub Pop labels, and the second one I have is I think on a different color, if I remember correctly. Yep, this one is on green vinyl, marbled green vinyl, also on Sub Pop labels. Alright, so after the first 3 independent releases from the Muffs, they really got a lot of attention from a lot of the major labels. And eventually they ended up getting signed by Warner Brothers, and they released their very first debut full-length album that originally back in the 90s came out only on CD. This is the original copy on CD from 1993 on Warner Brothers Records. This is the self-titled record, just called the Muffs, and here's the track list in the back. Great record. Like I said, it only came out on CD back in the day. Another great picture of the band. They're really good at band photos. But anyways, fantastic record. A lot of people call it their best album. I think it's really good, but I think some of the albums that came out after this one are even better than this one. Great music from the Muffs. They were really still trying to change a little bit their style of music, where they were trying to blend in a lot of melody or Kim Shattuck's voice or melodic voice into very hard punk rock guitar-driven music. And this is one of their best ones, I think, where they do that kind of style of punk rock or pop punk music. You can tell that they were still developing some of their sound, but overall it ends up sounding like a very classic Muffs record. It's just a terrific record, and I think a lot of bands out there would consider this record as very influential in their music. In fact, Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day, when Kim passed away, he mentioned that they were actually listening to they were listening to this record, the self-titled album by the Muffs, when they were recording, or when Green Day was recording Dookie back in 1994, because they were also in the same label. And of course, Green Day went out to become very famous based on the influence of the self-titled album from the Muffs. And this album is filled with great music. It's just a classic record. Lucky Guy, Saying Goodbye, Everywhere I Go, From Your Girl, Big Mouth is a fantastic and very catchy song. And I really wish I could play you a clip of some of these songs, but I can't, because they would get blocked by YouTube. I checked, and Reprise Records for some reason don't let you play any of the songs by the Muffs on YouTube for, I don't know, whatever reason. They will block the video. But anyways, I'll put a link here in the description to some of the tracks in case you want to check them out. But this album is fantastic. And later on in 2015, Burger Records reissued the same CD, the debut album, with lots of extra tracks. If you're trying to get, or you want to start getting into the Muffs, I highly recommend that you get this one on CD, because it comes with lots of extra tracks. It comes with the demo versions of some of the songs and some of the radio versions of the singles. And not only that, but in the CD you also get, and here's how the CD looks inside, a little bit different than the original one. But in the booklet is awesome, because you get lots of information, or a really cool write-up by the band, and also pictures of the band. But what's really cool is to read about the whole process of recording the record, their debut album. It's really cool, and sometimes they go also over some of the tracks as well. Here they go over each of the songs, and it's just really cool to read about the whole process of making the record, and also some of the songs as well. But yeah, if you're trying to get into the Muffs, check this one out. Buy the reissue on Burger Records. Or I think this one, no, actually this one came out on Omnivore Recordings. And also in 2015, Omnivore Recordings also reissued, or actually it's not a reissue because it's the first time that it was released on vinyl. The debut album, the full-length album, The Muffs. And this one actually came out, the vinyl version came out on Drastic Plastic Records. Here it is. And they only pressed very few copies of these records. They only pressed 500 in black vinyl and 500 in green vinyl. You can tell here from the really hard to read hype sticker. But I have 2 copies again of this record on vinyl. When it came out, of course, I bought the one on black vinyl and the one on green vinyl, which I have actually never opened any of them, because when I listen to this record, I actually listen to the reissue version on CD because it just has the extra tracks. So I never really had the need to listen to and open this the reissue version of the self-titled album. But just because this is a special video, I'm gonna do a quick seal to revealed of the green vinyl. I think this is a green vinyl copy. Again, I never opened it, but I'm gonna go ahead and open this one, and I'll show you what the vinyl looks like. Yes, first time opening it. Let's go ahead and check it out. And there you go. And it looks like you also get an insert. And there you go. It's actually a booklet with pictures of the band. But surprisingly, you don't get the write-up that you get on the CD version with all the information about the recording of the record. So again, another reason to just get the CD. If you can find it, go ahead and buy the CD version. But still really cool to have the vinyl version of it. And like I said, it was never released on vinyl until 2015, and this looks beautiful. So only one single came out from that record, at least in a physical format, and it's this one right here on 7-inch vinyl. This one is called Big Mouth, and it came out in 1993 on Sympathy for the Records Industry. And here's the back with a B-side called Do the Robot. Really cool single to have. Big Mouth is a great song, very traditional Muffs style of music with great melodies from King Shattuck with and terrific guitar playing as well. Came out on black vinyl with the custom labels. Alright, up next is by far the most popular album by the Muffs, and for a very good reason. It's a terrific album, and it's the album called Blonder and Blonder. And it originally came out in 1995 on Reprise Records, the second album on the major label. And like I said, it's the most famous album by them, mainly because this is a record where, first of all, they did a lineup change. They dropped a couple of the band members and they added Roy McDonald on drums from Red Cross. And they really solidified their music in a way that they were starting to do more melodic. They were starting to add more of a melodic sound into their music compared to their first record. And they were so good at doing that, especially Kim, with the very clear melodies and the way that she sang, but at the same time having really fast and aggressive guitar playing and her traditional growl, of course. And a lot of people consider this their best album just because it's just so much more accessible for people. If you're trying to get into their music, this may be their best album to listen to because it's just very pop oriented, very melodic in nature overall. And this is the original record that was released on Reprise Records. I found it in a record store a long time ago, which I thought it was very lucky because they can be kind of rare, at least the original ones. And it came out on really cool looking red vinyl. with the classic now Reprise record labels. But yeah, this is the album that really put the Muffs really out there in the spotlight and in music. They never really got very big in the mainstream, but at least in the indie rock world, in the punk rock world, they were legendary because of this record. Again, Blonder and Blonder. And Reprise Records really pushed out this record as far as marketing and releasing singles for them. I think they released a lot of singles on promo copies on CD only, which I don't have. But I do have one copy of the single of Sad Tomorrow, which is the single that we're trying to push out there in the radio. Again, this one's Sad Tomorrow, and it came out also on Warner Brothers Records in 1995 on 7-inch vinyl. And here's the back. And the B-side is a song called Good Night Now, which is a terrific B-side song. And I always liked this record because it came out on not only on red vinyl, but in that design in the center labels, which almost looks like it's printed on, which makes it look, or maybe it is, a jukebox copy of the single. It's really cool looking. And then later on in 2016, Omnivore Recordings came back and they reissued the same record, Blonder and Blonder, on CD. And actually, this is the original copy on CD. This is the original version of the album. Same tracklist as the vinyl version that I showed you before, with a Reprise CD artwork. And Omnivore Recordings came back and they reissued it also on CD and vinyl. And there's the hype sticker. And it says the Snotty second album remastered with a bunch of bonus tracks. So same as the first one, they reissued it with different labels, I guess, on the CD. And with tons of extra tracks here. I don't know if you can read them there, but it's a lot of tracks that didn't make it into the record, and also some demo versions of some of the songs as well. And again, same as the first reissue, the CD version is better to have compared to the vinyl copy because you just get so much extra stuff, and the booklet is just really thick. Thick with pictures and again write-ups from the band members explaining the process of the second record. And again, Omnivore Records also reissued it on vinyl, on different color vinyl. I also got the copy on vinyl, and this one did come in with the insert. Well, I guess it's inner sleeve with the same artwork from the Sad Tomorrow single. And this one did come in with a commentary about the track lists and the process of making the record compared to the vinyl copy of the first record. And the vinyl on this one is really, really nice as well. Came in on awesome looking sky blue, light blue, whatever you want to call it, marbled with a little bit of darker blue and white, and the custom labels. There you go. Great record by the Muffs. Again, if you want to start listening to the Muffs, this may be the best album. It's not as harsh or as rough sounding as the debut record, and it has a lot of classic tunes by the Muffs, like the Sad Tomorrow, Laying on the Bed of Roses, Red Eyed Troll. Lots of classic songs from the Muffs in this record. Alright, up next, the next full-length album by the Muffs. Even though this Blonder and Blonder wasn't a big hit in the mainstream, Reprise Records were still pushing for the Muffs to release a big album, or an album that would be really popular in the radio, or a big hit song. And they gave them another chance, and they released another album on Warner Brothers or Reprise. And this is the original copy of Happy Birthday to Me. Came out on Reprise Records in 1997. Or actually, the vinyl copy of this record didn't come out on Reprise Records. This one came out on Telstar Records for some reason. But the album came out on standard black vinyl. Let's check it out. There it is, black vinyl with the custom labels. And in the back you get the Telstar Records labels. Now, if you ask me which one is the best album by the Muffs, I would say is this one. This is where the Muffs really solidified their style of music. I don't think they cared that much about what the record label really wanted them to play, or to be more poppy or more punk. This is the one where they just said, we're just gonna make an album with some great songs, and not care that much if they get dropped by the record label or not, which eventually they did end up getting dropped by Warner Brothers. But anyway, in my opinion, this is their best record. This is the Muffs at their peak of their career, at the peak of their powers. Lots of great melodies from Kim Shattuck. The guitars are perfect. The drums are phenomenal. The bass is so tight. The whole band is just so tight in this record. In my opinion, their best effort. Really happy. Or sorry, Happy Birthday to Me from 1997. And this record also came out with, or they released one single from this record, which is a song called I'm a Dick. Which I'm not sure why they chose this song for a single. Again, I don't think the Muffs really cared that much about having a big hit single back then. It's not that best song in the record, but it's still a pretty catchy song as well. And the B-side is a song called Pacer, which is a cover from The Amps, which is a side project from Kim Deal of the Pixies. And coincidentally, Kim Shattuck also ended up playing briefly in the Pixies later on, when the Pixies reunited in 2004, 2005, I think. But anyways, this is a really cool single to have. Also a little bit rare. Came out on standard black vinyl with the custom labels. Really cool single, the Muffs with I'm a Dick. And then later on in 2017, Omnivore Records came back again, and they reissued the same record. Or actually, I have multiple copies of the original press. This is another copy of the original album of Happy Birthday to Me, which I have never opened. I bought this one on eBay, I think. It was advertised as sealed, and I found it for a really good price, and I just decided to buy it just for the collection. And I never opened it, since this has been sealed since 1997, and I never really opened it, and I plan to keep it that way, at least in the near term. But anyways, Omnivore Records came back again in 2017 and reissued the same album on CD and vinyl. This is the vinyl copy of Happy Birthday to Me from 1997, but reissued in 2017. It looks very similar, but again, they added a few extra tracks on the CD version, but not on the vinyl. The vinyl has the standard track list, but this one did come in with a insert, or a inner sleeve, I guess, with some information, or again another write-up of the process of writing and recording the album, and some additional pictures. I always love that picture of Kim over here eating food. Again, great photography from the Muffs, and great music. In my opinion, the best album from the Muffs. And this one came in, or the reissue came in on white vinyl, with similar labels as the Telstar release. In the back you get the Omnivore logo instead of the Telstar logo. And here's the hype sticker. And this one says, birthday greetings from the Muffs, give yourself a gift. The third Muffs album remastered, first pressing on white vinyl. And here are the CD copies of Happy Birthday to Me. I have the original one from 1997. Pretty standard looking CD. And I also have the reissue version on CD that also came out on Omnivore Records with the same hype sticker. This one looks slightly different. I actually like the design of the CD and the original one a little bit better. And again, this one came in with all the photos from the original one and the same write-up that I showed you in the vinyl version of the reissue. And again, you can only get it on the reissue with all the information about the recording, the album, and the process of writing the songs. And again, this one came in with lots of extra tracks. Again, if you get this one, just get the reissue version on Omnivore Recordings. They did a great job in reissuing all the first three records from the Muffs. So after Happy Birthday to Me, the Muffs actually ended up getting dropped from Warner Brothers Records because they weren't popular enough, I guess. They never released a big hit single or a big selling album. So they went to what normal punk bands do, and then they went to another independent record label, and they went to Honest Don's Records, and they released another album in 1999, which is this one right here on CD, but I actually don't have it the cover on the CD or in the case because I have it framed. I have it framed right here. Why? Because it was signed by Kim Shattuck and Roy McDonald, both of the singer and the drummer of the Muffs, when they came into Atlanta, and I went to see them and I got to meet both of them. Unfortunately, Ronnie, the bass player, wasn't there. He couldn't play with the Muffs that day. He was having eye surgery, so he couldn't make it to that show. But either way, it was great to see the Muffs live, and I've only got to see them live once when that year when they came in. I think it was in 2014, if I remember correctly. And it was an experience to see them play live, especially after being a big fan of the band for so many years. I don't know why I picked this album to get it signed. At that point, I guess when I was when I went to see them live, I was listening to this CD a lot, which is, I think most of the fans would say this is their worst album. But in my opinion, I think it's a really solid record. It's definitely darker themed compared to their previous releases. Definitely a little bit different. It has a different vibe overall compared to the other ones, but I think it's excellent. And I also got the vinyl copy of A Letter Today, Alive Tomorrow. This one can be really hard to find. In fact, I've been collecting the music of the Muffs for a long time, but this one was the toughest one to get because it rarely shows up on Discogs or on eBay or anywhere. Even the CD copy, I think the CD copy I found it years ago when I lived in Texas, and I went to a record store and I found it there. But I never again saw it in record stores or online anywhere. It was released on Honest Don's Records, which is a company of Fat Mike from NoFX. But I found this one eventually on eBay a long time ago, and it was never repressed or reissued. So it came out on Honest Don's Records, also on 1999. And this one is new and sealed. And this record being so rare, I think I'm going to keep it this way at least for now. I still have the one on CD if I want to listen to it. So after 1999, the Muffs actually took a little bit of a break, and during that time they released a compilation record, or a B-side compilation album called Hamburger, which is a pretty popular album because it has so many songs. It has like over 30 songs. If you're trying again to get into the music of the Muffs, this might be a really good collection to get into because it has just so many tracks. From the beginning of the Muffs all the way till 1999 or 2000. Has a lot of B-side songs, a lot of songs that didn't make it to the album, the demo versions, cover songs, and this one came out in 2000 on Sympathy for the Records Industry. This one on vinyl can also be a little bit hard to find out there. It can be a little bit rare because they didn't press that many copies. I think I found this one on eBay a while ago. I was glad I found it because I haven't seen this record on eBay quite recently, at least. Came in with a nice gatefold, and this is a double LP as well. I don't know if you can see there the pictures of the singles and the band playing live. Double LP, like I said, and it came out on standard black vinyl with Sympathy for the Records Industry labels. And like I said, a little bit hard to find out there, but a great record to have in case you want to start listening to the Muffs. And they actually released one single from this record just to promote the album. It's a cover song of No Action, originally by Elvis Costello. And here's the single on 7-inch vinyl. A cool picture of Kim right there in the front. And there's the back. And the B-side is a song called You Lie, which is a cover song from the Pandoras, the first band from Kim. And it also came out on Sympathy for the Records Industry on black vinyl. So after that, the Muffs took a little bit of a break, and they came back in 2004 to release a new album on, this one came out on Sympathy for the Records Industry in 2004, and this one's called Really Really Happy. And this also shows a little bit of a change in the style of music for the Muffs, in a way that a lot of the songs here have very, very positive type of lyrics, very melodic, very catchy songs, maybe a little bit more acoustic as well. You can tell that Kim Shattuck was really in a good mood or in a good place in her life when this album was released. And I also got the original version on vinyl, which has a different cover in the front, as you can tell. This is the CD version, and the vinyl has actually the picture from the inside of the CD, as you can tell. And the back has the track list, and I think this one just came out on standard black vinyl, and no insert or anything. Black vinyl and Sympathy for the Records Industry labels. I always love the Sympathy for the Records Industry labels because they always, or sometimes they have some fun messages here around the labels. For example, in this one says 15 years of performance anxiety, instability, and poor judgment. And the other side also says the same thing. And some of the records have different messages there in their labels. So after that, the Muffs actually took another break, this one a lot longer. They didn't release anything for 10 years, and they came back in 2014 to release their newest record, or the new album called Whoop-De-Doo. And again, this one came out in 2014 on Burger Records. Another big comeback album by the Muffs. When this one came out, I think a lot of people included this record on their best albums of the year. Great record, similar in style as in Really Really Happy. A lot of songs about being in a good place in life, being happy, but also some classic themes from the Muffs as well, with a traditional growl from Kim Shattuck, a little bit of a faster songs, some melodic songs here as well. Lots of songs about her husband, lots of melodic songs, and yeah, overall a great album. Again, Whoop-De-Doo. This one came out on Burger Records. This one is really hard to take out of the sleeve because the sleeve itself is just so big compared to a traditional or regular size record, and it's almost a really hard cardboard. I don't know why they decided to do it on this type of cover, but either way, a great record. This one did come with an insert, but I actually have it hanged right there in my wall, which I might be able to show you in the second copy that I have. I have two copies of this one, of Whoop-De-Doo. Again, I'm a huge collector, so I had to buy them in two different colors of vinyl. This one came in on a standard black vinyl with the custom labels. Very cool labels on this one. And the second copy that I have, I think this one is on red vinyl. Here it is. I mean, on kind of like a maroon color vinyl. Really cool looking record. And yeah, the insert is really cool. I'm hoping to show you in this second copy that I have, because the insert has a really cool poster or picture of the band playing live, which I liked it so much that I decided to hang it here in my wall. And here it is. I love this picture of the band playing live. This might be my favorite picture of the Muffs. Just rocking out there, giving it all. Kim, Ronnie, and Roy. Legendary.
Nobody knows why he's such a dud. Oh, he's a boy next door. What a boy. Do nothing what he's living for. He's a boy next door. What a boy. Now see, keep away from him.
Alright, then lastly, the final Muffs album was released last year in 2019. And this one's called No Holiday. And it came out on Omnivore Recordings. And you've heard me talk a lot about this record since it came out late last year in my last two videos, so I won't say too much about it. But I'll just say that it's a terrific and a perfect farewell record for someone that gave so much of her life for music. Just to release this excellent and perfect album was just a great way of saying goodbye to Kim Shattuck. This one was released after the death of Kim in 2019. And this is a double LP, came in with a nice gatefold, really cool pictures of the band. And the record itself came in on standard black vinyl, the regular labels. And there's the hype sticker. And the second LP came in with a really cool etching on side B, or on the last side of the album. It's a cartoon version of the Muffs band members, Kim, Ronnie, and Roy. I don't know if you can see it very well there, but it is there. But yeah, great record. I really highly recommend it. It made it, of course, to my top 10 albums of 2019. In case you haven't watched my video, it made it to my #1 of the year, so I really like it that much. Great and final farewell album for the Muffs. And that's it. Those are all the Muffs records. I wanted to show you a couple of more things which are related to the Muffs, I guess. Some side projects and former bands. This is the album. I only have one record from the Pandoras, which is the original band from Kim and Melanie of the Muffs. This one's called Stop Pretending. Great garage rock music from the 80s. And I also only have one record from White Flag, which is kind of a weird side project between some band members from Red Cross, the Muffs, and several other bands. But this one's a really fun record. This one's called Tease for 20. It's a compilation album. It has a lot of songs that feature Kim and Ronnie from the Muffs. You can see it in insert, which has a poster. I guess all the band members of White Flag throughout the years, and there is in the center Kim Shattuck of the Muffs. And finally, this is an EP from the Coolies that also came out last year in 2019, early in 2019. This one's called Ooh Oh, It's the Coolies, and it's a side project or a super group featuring Kim Shattuck, of course, and Melanie Vaman of the Pandoras and the original lineup of the Muffs, and also Palmyra Del Ran, which I was not very familiar with until I listened to the Coolies. And this is a record that was released to support or for a benefit of organization that does ALS research, which was announced, and it came in a nice green vinyl, 10-inch green vinyl, which was announced way before anybody knew or the public knew about Kim's diagnosis of ALS. Besides that, that's it for my collection of the Muffs. I don't have anything else on music. Just wanted to show you one quick t-shirt of the Muffs. I picked this one up recently. It's a t-shirt with traditional artwork from the Muffs. Really cool looking. But that's it. That's all I have for the Muffs. Again, VC, thank you for watching. Sorry for the very long video, but I thought this is a video that I really needed to make. Anyways, thank you for watching and take care. Bye-bye.